simply couldn't eat another bite. Oh, Halloween, how you do me wrong. Okay, maybe just one more. Ah, crap. Hello everybody and welcome back to Ruler 101. Today we're going over the ruler that got me into Force of Will in the first place, Alice in Wonderland. Now, the story of how I actually got into this game is kind of weird because at first I had no clue that it existed. I was a Magic only player. I was heavily into what is it, the 100 card format, Commander, EDH, whatever it was. I was just heavily into that, and I wasn't having fun. Like, I'll be honest, because none of what I wanted to play would work. There was there was the one style that worked, and that was it. Or I could spend like $1,000 or something and buy a super fancy control EDH and play like my style that I wanted to. Basically, every card that I wanted to play in EDH was outside my bracket. But then someone had proposed to our local game store that he carry Force of Will. So he started asking people about it and being like, hey, would you guys buy this product? Hey, what if I stock this? Would you guys be interested in playing this game? I was like, Force of Will, what is that? So I looked it up and I lost it. Alice in Wonderland as a card game, even though that's not what Force of Will is, but just having those characters and Grimm and like Little Red Riding Hood and then the Yamato no Arachi and like all those crazy, just all the fairy tales and the werewolves, and just it blew my mind. Like, I didn't know a card game could be this cool. Originally, I was like super excited for the Innistrad block in Magic the Gathering. That was the one with werewolves and like all kinds of creepy, grim, gothic horror type nonsense. But for the most part, I wasn't really satisfied with how it looked. But then I looked this up and I was just amazed at how like detailed, or no, not detailed, how beautiful the cards were, how interesting it looked in general. Later on, I would come to find out that sadly this card is not the strongest. However, that would not stop me from acquiring a copy along with my first starter decks. And the rest, as they say, is history, because I basically hit the ground running. I sold my entire Magic collection to buy Force of Will. Who else can say that they did that? Probably a couple people, but I count myself in a special lot. Anyway, let's get right into what you're actually here for, the ruler, Alice in Wonderland. She is a little girl ruler. She is blue, kind of a warning signal, seeing blue anything, basically, except for recently. She has a J activate, pay any number of will. You cannot choose to pay 0. So, already has a J activate of 1. Let's see how strong she is on her other side. A 7/7. Okay, so at the time, a 7/7 for 1 was insane. However, her abilities are what make her really worth it. So, it all depends on what kind of will you spent for it. White, gain 1,000 life. Blue, draw a card. Darkness, target opponent discards a card. Fire, this card deals 1,000 damage to up to 1 target resonator. Green, destroy up to 1 target addition. If you paid will of each attribute and will produced from Mujdart the Fantasy Stone, this card gains flying and swiftness until end of turn. That was unheard of. A J ruler with flying and swiftness? Whoa! I'm pretty sure that it was flying was out there, I think, maybe, but the swiftness on a J ruler was crazy for people. And at the time, getting to turn 5, I don't think it was that big of a deal. Nowadays, though, she's pretty slow, and that stat line is just, no, thank you. However, I still think she has some really cool abilities, and look at her! Look at her! So gorgeous, look at that art! The front side, it's all like she's going into Wonderland and all just calm, and then you flip it and boom! She's got a magical Keyblade out of nowhere, gonna kick your ass with all this Wonderland power. Kaboom, I would kill for a full art of this. So, Wanderer promos, please. Jeff, whatever you want. Please. Anyway, let's move on to the next card. Obviously, I'm starting with Rewriting Laws. Sorry. But the reason I'm starting with this card, as opposed to how I usually go, where I go Resonator Spells, is because this card really enables the deck that I built around her. Magic stones you control gain Rest, produce one of any color until end of turn. Recover up to 2 magic stones you control, draw a card. All for 1 green and 1. Okay, so it's just a chant. It's not chant instant, so you can't use it for instant speed shenanigans. However, it draws you a card, recovers the 2 stones you used to play it, and gives all your stuff Rainbow Will. So it just enables you to do everything that you want with her. You always want, basically what you always want to do is at least pay 1 darkness and 1 light. The others are situational. Blue card draw is really cool. However, it's not super necessary. It's really cool. Don't get me wrong, but 1,000 life can really swing you into stabilization, or the darkness can just eat away at your opponent's hand and make you go, oh, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do against my 7/7 J ruler? I guess I'll play a Rachel. You want to trade? No, at the time it was strong, and it can still be strong because she has the Wanderer typing. Now, Wanderer, they tried to make Wanderer subtype a thing a while ago with a certain fire ruler. It just didn't do it good because all the Wanderer spells were green, and he had to use Fire Will to pay for all the Wanderer spells. Ah! I don't like it. But anyway, let's get right into the support cards for Wanderer cards. Starting with Interdimensional Space. Now, this is why this deck can really, do something, as opposed to just being like, flip, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to upset you. You may pay 1 less to do Judgment of Wanderer J Rulers. Doesn't matter, you're not using that with her. Admittedly, if your opponent has, Barrier of Shadows, you pay 1 more to do Judgment costs. This will take care of that for you, so you don't have to worry it. But you may pay 1 less to play Wanderer Resonators. We're going to abuse Wanderer Resonators because there's some cool ones out there. But the important part, Wanderer J/Resonators you control gain plus 400/400. So with just 1 of these, Alice goes from crappy 7/7 to decent 11/11. And if you happen to have 2 of these, she's a 15/15. What are you going to do? How are you going to deal with that? You're not going to deal with that because she's going to smack you in the face with her awesome key. I said Keyblade originally, but it's clearly a key. I'm calling it a Keyblade. No, I'm calling it a Keyblade. She's wielding it like a sword. It's a Keyblade. Deal with it. Anyway, it doesn't draw you a card. It doesn't have any activate effect, so you kind of want to be wary of how many you're running. You want to see it so Alice can get a decent power and toughness, but at the same time, you want to be careful about it because you don't want it to just sit in your hand and be like, well, I drew 3 interdimensional space this game. GG, I'm down 3 cards. Other than that, it's really strong. And you'll see why with the Wanderer Rulers after this next card. Words of Scheherazade. No. I know Scheherazade. I know. I'm having flashbacks too right now. Is Nightmare, but this is before the Nightmare. 1 green for a chant. Search your deck for a Wanderer, reveal it, and put it in your hand. Then shuffle your deck. Basically extra copies of all your Wanderer cards. Yeah. It costs 1. You can do it turn 1. It's cool. It's cool. That's all I really have to say about this. You run it because there's certain wanderers that are uber expensive, and you only want to grab them when, like, in certain situations, or once you have your ramp base established. Alice, Guardian of Dimensions, our first Wanderer Resonator. She's a bit of an old card, and she actually has one of the coolest promos of all time. It is a cosplay promo. Sadly, I couldn't find the image. It might be on the Force of Will site, but I couldn't find it. But I have a playset of them, obviously, because Alice in Wonderland cosplay promo. Anyway, 1 blue, 1 light, and 1. So she has flying, is a 7/7. Yeah. She also has 2 activated abilities. 1, pay a blue. Target Resonator you control cannot be targeted by spells or abilities your opponent controls until end of turn. Read, 1 blue, target Resonator you control gains barrier until end of turn. Pretty cool. As long as you have blue will, you have untargetable Resonators. I like that. Like, just keeping her up as a card, like, on my field is a huge advantage, because your opponent's like, well, I love not being able to interact with your board. And then they final battle me and I cry. Such is card games. She also has another activate ability. 1 white, and rest her, remove this card and target Resonator from the game. So, not only is she a flying 7/7 for 3, but she can also barrier your Resonators, and if push comes to shove, she can sacrifice herself to take out one of their Resonators, removing it from the game. So no recursion, buddy. Not a bit. But that does it for the Alice Resonators. There are other... I think there's one other Alice Resonator that's a Wanderer. It's blue, 1 blue, and 2. I didn't feel like mentioning it because it's just a 5/5 that you can play from your deck if you're searching. Is really not that great. Unless you have a bunch of interdimensional space, but again, it's like, eh. Oh yeah, I should also mention that if you have one single interdimensional space, this is a 2-cost 11/11 flyer. Let that sink in for a second. I'll say it again. A 2-cost 11/11 flyer. Pretty good in my opinion. That's got activated well. Let's move on to the other Resonators. Gil Lapis, Usurper of maddening power. My favorite villain in all of Force of Will. Deal with it. Gil Lapis. He has seen so many cards. Two different rulers. Yeah, 2 rulers. He was one of my favorite rulers his first iteration. Later on he got kind of iffy, but he's just this madman little dude that I refuse to believe new canon. He's not Gil's little brother. He is the son of Al-Hama'ad. No. Anyway, 1 darkness, 1 white, and 1 for a 600/700 Wanderer Resonator with precision. It also has Will of Despair, but he has, when this card enters your field, search your deck for a light or darkness chant with total cost 1, reveal it, and put it into your hand, then shuffle your deck. So he's a 3-cost that replaces himself. Good. And the search is doubly good. It means you don't have to run 4 final battles. Even though sometimes you kind of want 4 final battles, but it means you don't have to run them. Because you can search that final battle, or you can search that Resuscitating Will, or you can search that Magic Sweets, or you can search that, what is it? Mother's Touch. He also gains +100/+100 for each other Resonator with Will of Despair you control. I'm not running any other Will of Despairs in this. That's just a different archetype. But if you have 2 Gils, sure. But mainly, again, interdimensional space makes him a 1011 with precision. Precision's pretty good on its own. Just as he is, a 6/7 precision is not bad. Now, admittedly, we do now have a 3-cost 8/8 precision. At least I think she's an 8/8 precision. That also can't be attacked, but she doesn't draw you a card. So, eat it. Anyway, next up, we have the 2-cost Wanderer Resonator, Sun Wukong, Enforcer for the Future. A 6/5 for 2 green, flying. When this card enters your field, return target non-Magic Stone, non-J Resonator card to its owner's hand. So he gets rid of additions and regalia. I think that's it. Yeah, additions and regalia. It returns them to your to the hand, so it's not super good. But if you really need to spot removal something, it's decent. Also, he's a 6/5 for 2, and again, interdimensional space. I know I'm relying heavily on that, but I just it's what this deck does. Anyway, so he's just a 2-drop Wanderer. That was basically the point. You can also do some fun little trickery with him. You can, if you have your Alice J Ruler flipped and out there, and you say have your Regalia, and you've used your Regalia for the turn, you play a Sun Wukong, bounce your Regalia to your hand, and then play the Regalia and immediately use its ability. And if like you're using the Artemis, the God's Bow, once you've used the counters, typically it just sits there until it gets destroyed or is useless for the rest of the game. If you play a Sun Wukong, you can pull that bow back to your hand, play it again, and suddenly you have more counters. Pretty cool. Next up, Valentina, the Crumbling Illusion. This is one of the one-ofs. You don't want to see her you don't want to see a whole bunch of her, because you have one, and you play the one, and you play the one for cheap and just kind of hope she does her thing, because if she's not answered, you're gonna win. She is an 800/900 for 1 darkness, 1 water, and 5. Now she has a caveat. You may pay 1 less to play this card for each Resonator in your graveyard. This gets small really fast. Like, her cost goes down super quick, because things die really easily. Particularly if you're playing an opponent who has like a kill deck, your graveyard's going to fill, and you're going to be like, oh look, a 2-cost Valentina. And interdimensional space makes her cost less as well, because it's not some weird X cost. Anyway, the main part, or her main ability, at the beginning of your turn, put a Resonator from your graveyard into your field. So she just brings back all your beautiful Wanderer Resonators that have died. She is awesome. She is a good Wanderer. She's a good one-of. You don't really want to run her in a deck that you can't search her in, because you don't want to have this opening hand filled with Valentina and be like, well, guess I'm screwed. Let's move on to the next. I believe this is the final Wanderer that I'm throwing in here. Scheherazade, the Teller of the Crimson Moon. She has an enter, choose a race. As long as you control this card, J Resonators of the chosen race cannot attack you. They can still attack Resonators you control. However, they can't attack your face. Believe it or not, that's more that's more useful than you'd think. Because you go, look at her stat line. She's 1,1200 for 5. That's fair. That's a Jupiter. You play her and you go, I don't want dragons to attack me. And then Turbo goes, what? No! Also, because it's an enter ability and not some weird continuous ability, it creates the effect. And then it doesn't matter until they kill Scheherazade. Like, they can't just, like, take her abilities away and stop it. No, they have to get rid of Scheherazade. And as long as you sit there and you go, oh, I'm gonna attack with Scheherazade, whatever. She also has the Picture's Lying. The Picture's Lying. It's actually 2 green and 3 colorless will, because they determined this to be too powerful. So 5 total. Rest her. Remove target Resonator from the game. Remove a Resonator on a stick. She costs 5, so you already have 5 will. There you go. Again, this is a one-of, because you don't want to fill your hand with Scheherazades. Unless you're running a Scheherazade deck where you play Scheherazades with Scheherazade, so you can Scheherazade while you Scheherazade. And I'm getting off topic. Anyway, I believe that does it for this deck. I'm going to put the deck up. As always, it's a baseline, what I could come up with. I am just one person. But I would love to see your guys' ideas. I was toying with sort of a Wonderland themed deck, but I realized all the Wonderland cards suck, with the exception of Cheshire Cat, the Grinning Remnant. The Grinning Remnant. But yeah, I'd love to see what brews you guys can come up with. Standard strategy here. You want to play Regalia, open with Ruler's Memoria, then ramp, then play like a Sacred Elf, and then turn 2 you flip with a draw and whatever, and then you just swing every turn with your beautiful 7/7. Oh man, I wish she had Energize. Can you imagine that? Just turn. Okay, so I'm playing. Okay, I'll drop 4. I will drop 4 Excaliburs, and then pay Energize for blue. Flip. I will draw a card. Oh look, there's my Death Scythe. Your go. And Bo goes, what? It'd be beautiful. Anyway, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.